on, you can do better than that. I've had a crazy horrible day. Well, the sun is shining. I had some dramas this morning, that's why we're starting a bit later, but it's been good. So, greetings everyone!
Greetings!
That's better, that's better. I'm loving the fact that there's lots of sisters in the room. Just look around here, just look around, just look around. Plenty sisters in the room, it's all good. So, welcome. My name is Charmaine Simpson and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Black History Studies, and I welcome you here today. Thank you for coming out and supporting the Angelou Film Festival. Before we start, we like to have a family environment because we are sisters here and we're trying to increase sisterhood in the community. So if you can turn to the person behind you, in front of you, beside you, and greet them and say hello, and we'll get started.
I know I'm not a sister.
Hello, greetings.
Brilliant, brilliant. So we are going to be here till about 5 o'clock, so it's good that we show our teeth and smile with everybody in the room, because what this event is trying to do with this event is get people networking, talking to each other. Hopefully films get made and contacts that get made through this event today and everything else. So before we start, I'm just going to run through the order of the day. So what we're going to have first, we're going to have a presentation about breaking into the film industry and also looking at the history of black women in moving image, and that's going to be delivered by my super sister, former chair of the New Black Film Collective, Miss Yvonne Connicky at the back there. Give her a round of applause. Then we're going to take a short break so everybody can get a refreshment, shake your foot. And then what we're going to do, we're going to show the film Sisters in Cinema, and then I've got a super lineup of powerful sisters that are in the community that have actually made films are also in the film industry. We're going to come up, we're going to have a panel discussion as well. We're going to keep it informal, and also we're going to ask if you can fill out the evaluation forms. Yeah? Because this event is actually sponsored by Film London. We actually applied for some funding to get the Boost Award, and we reached the idea of the Angelou Film Festival. We got some funding, so this is the reason why we're doing this event today. So we're just asking everybody if they can give us some feedback as well. And also, we have Got Kush TV at the back. We like to support fellow black businesses in the community doing positive works, and they're going to be filming the event, and also we'll ask ladies if you give a video testimonial about how you found the event today. Okay, because that also helps us in terms of promotion and trying to get, when we do go for funding, even though Black History Studies is a self-funded organisation, when we do go for funding, sorry, I've been told to move. So basically that also helps us in terms of promotion of the event and promotion of Black History Studies as a whole, because what we want to do is create a medium and create a movement where we're sharing black history and black studies in the community. We're not waiting for the school system in this country to start waking up and start teaching our history. We need to do that ourselves. So that's why we get video testimonials and evaluation forms and do what we do. So, enough of me talking. I'd like to invite Yvonne to the stage and we'll deliver the presentation. Big round of applause, please. Come on, we're African people in the room. Come on.
So I chose two filmmakers that were very active during the 1980s, and they are Maureen Blackwood, whose picture you can see there, and Sister D, Almina Davis, whose picture you can't see because I didn't have enough success in actually getting a picture of her. Unfortunately, she's passed quite some time ago now, at least 15 years ago. And but even though she has passed, she has done some remarkable work and notable work, and it was really important for me to really flag up these two filmmakers because they're not active at the moment, and it's very easy for their work to kind of disappear into the oblivion, and no one will know about them and no one will talk about them. So I'm excited to talk about them today. Does anybody already know about Maureen Blackwood work? You do? Great, fantastic. One person. Okay, yeah, sorry Paulette, I'm expecting the world from you, you know that, don't you? So we have one person. So that's what I mean. I mean, this lady knows Maureen Blackwood's work, and that's fantastic. Does anyone know about Sister D, Sister Almina Davis's work? No. Right, so I was right to do this then, because like I said, they're both amazing filmmakers. So I'm going to tell you a little bit. I'm going to try not to talk too much, because the problem with me is that once I get started, you know, when it all starts to come and flow, and then I can't shut up. But I do feel that I need to go a little bit back, a bit further, because these ladies, like I said, they were active in the 1980s, but black filmmaking was active before then. And I'll show you the difference and why these women are so important. But back in the 60s, there was some filmmaking taking place in Britain by black filmmakers. We had Nile Njenge, I believe, who did Jemima and Johnny, which was made in 1966, which some of you may see as you go around watching old archive film. And by 1975, Horace Ovey made Pressure. And we all love Pressure, don't we? We love it. Going back to the 70s again, we know that a lot of black kids were feeling very disenfranchised. They were suffering from unemployment and lack of representation. And by 1981, April 11, we had the Brixton riots. And that changed everything. And there was a lot of sort of political argument about why the riots took place, and Lord Scarman was commissioned to do a sort of social document about the riots, and his findings was that there wasn't institutionalized racism, which there was, but that yes, black people were disenfranchised, and that it was really worth their whiles to invest in black people. And that's basically what happened. Now, the lack of representation was flagged up. The GLA, the Greater London Council, was active at the time, and the IBA, the Independent Broadcasting Association, decided that we really did need to do something in terms of representation in film. So these collectives sprang up in London. We had Sankofa, which Maureen was part of, and we also had Black Audio Film Collective, which you probably all know of, which is still active today. And we had Chedo in London, which was very active, which you all know. Menelik Shabazz was part of that, Imra Bakari was part of that, and several others. Okay, so I've got some of the films that Maureen made. And like I said, the films were made collectively. So even though Maureen would have been the director of these films or worked on these films, and she has worked on others that aren't up here, she would have had the support of her group, and not just her group, but Cheddar would have supported her work as well, and Black Audio would have supported as well, because everybody worked collectively. Everybody had ideas about what they wanted, black filmmaking to look like, and so they wanted to support each other to do it. But I also must say to you that at the time that all of these kind of uprisings were happening in Brixton, we had uprising in Handsworth, we had uprisings in Bristol, we had uprising in Toxteth, and so these workshops and collectives were more or less around the country, and in Cardiff too. So everybody was very interested and very excited to create a new representation of blackness. So, but this is an example that I'm showing you obviously because we're talking about women filmmakers in particular. So this is just to show you some of the work that she did. She was very busy. Does anyone else have a question? I know we've got to move on. You said earlier that films like these aren't necessarily economically viable. What are some of the steps that you think can be taken to make these films visible? Well, I think that's what screenings like this are all about. Really, that's the only thing we can do. We just have to recognise that we need a different type of film, that the films that they put on television aren't for us, and they're really, if anything, they're very much against us. And the culture that is being put forward often isn't going to sustain us spiritually or in any way aesthetically or in any other way. So we have to always be continually looking for images like this and creating images based on what we've seen that we like, that we think is the next step. Would you like to say something, sister, in the back? Because you know you're probably the one person. Yes.
I said a few years about Sister Dennis because she was my sister.
Yes.
Yeah, do. Greetings. Well, my name is Petronella Davis. Incidentally, we're not family with Sister Dennis, but my Rasta family know me as Sister Benji.
Yes.
I knew Sister Benji. You know me. I knew Sister Dennis way back in the 70s. At the time, I was living in East London, and there was an organisation that we were trying to set up in East London for the black community, and she was a very, very important person within this organisation. At the time, the council in Europe told us that we had to show that we needed the organisation. So we used to take our youth from school and take them in the evenings to this place to build up the numbers and do a lot of creative work. Sister Dennis was a very quiet woman. She did a lot of work, but she never imposed herself on anybody. She had a son, who incidentally is very close to my youngest son. We're very, very good brethren, and I know her husband very, very well. I often I've always been a person to go on marches, etc. I used to be, I remember going to the New Cross March many, many years ago. We were now about New Cross, and seeing her up on the bridge, and with this big, big piece of equipment. She's a very smart, slight woman, running up and down and pointing the camera at different places, you know. And then she said, "What was this student?" You know, and then she said, and she'd be gone again. And she was involved in absolutely everything. She was there doing her bit. She spent many, many years in Ghana. Ghana was her base. She absolutely loved Ghana, and it was in Ghana, unfortunately, that she died from malaria. When she died, to show what a significant person she was, The Guardian in them days did a huge piece about her in the newspaper. Now, for them to do that, it shows that she was a woman of significance. I'm pleased to say that her legacy kind of lives on still. She was the Rasta woman. Yes, in the 70s, the 80s, as Rasta, we can relate to that. Our parents, they never did check for us when we became Rasta. We had the fight. But nearly all the sisters of that time in my age group now, which I'm not going to tell you, but it's a big one age group. Yeah, 21 and, you know, we had to fight the battle, but it gave us determination. And the truth is, Rasta women were always, I feel, underrepresented. We say behind every successful man there's a successful woman, it's true. And for the Rasta woman, it's more than true, because we were there and we did a lot, because the society at the time would accept us as a black woman, but not our black men. But as Rasta women, we made them now say, yeah, you can disarm them, but we're here. And then all of my sisters then, I've got many living in different parts of Africa, but the ones who are over here are still fighting the fight, doing fantastic works, and our children are making it known that they're black, they're British, and they're Rasta. And when I look around at the room, I see people, the things that people used to look at us and scar us for our locks. I see so many people now with different farmer locks, sister locks, different things. And in a way, it's a joy, because when we were coming through, we had a fight, and the biggest fight I'm taking personally we had was from our own people. You'd go for your job, and you'd have your head wrapped, and your older black person would look at you at the interview and school at you. See me, when they used to school me, I school straight back at them because I am proud of who I am. I'm not gonna, there's no apologies. So nowadays to see people, to see so many of this, it gives me a joy. And I know so that my sister Dennis would have loved this. She would love this, and I'm so happy that her work has been acknowledged, because seriously, she was a great woman. And that piece of film that you saw, I've got it. It is excellent. And she just sat there, she didn't prompt anyone. People just spoke from the heart. So what you see is absolutely unique. Yeah, and it's, you know, no cut and take out this and take out that. What you see is what was said. Thank you.
That's why I love doing these events, because it's just beautiful. The sister said, yes, I know this lady, came up and gave that presentation. Sister, you just described the whole ethos of Black History Studies there in terms of supporting the independent filmmakers. So I'll be in my room on my night dress at night time, and I should be in my bed finding, oh, film, oh yes, Black and Cuban, yes, get that one. Oh, is it going to be commercial? No. I will find films that tell a story. I don't really tend to see if it's going to make lots of money, because I know that the audience that we have, which we have developed over the past 8 years, want to see films and content, different content about their lives. So we showed a film last Monday called Black and Cuba, and we had a diverse crowd. We had about 90 people there on a Monday, and it rained. And I was like, Mark, oh my gosh, look at it. And the people kept coming. I was like, wow, look at this. And people were like, oh, I love this film. And then we had the discussion afterwards. You had the people from Palestine talking about their struggle and can relate to what they saw in the film. And I thought, you know what? This is why I do the work we do. This is why we have to do the work that we do, because we are all looking for different stories. I'm just so happy that I reached out to Sister Yvonne and said, you know what, do this presentation, because for me, that's done a whole heap of research in terms of Black history in this country. I've never heard of the two sisters that you've mentioned, and I've supported numerous films over the years. So I just have to give thanks to you for doing that presentation as well. I'd like to give thanks to everybody in the room as well, because it has been a struggle. And even when you go for funding, it's all about who will come out to support the film festival. And if people don't support the film festival, then they say, maybe don't need to give it to this particular group of people because your people ain't interested. But people have been coming out to support the Mount Angelou Film Festival, and it's been global. People saying, oh, come to America. I'm like, what? You can do it over there. But it says, get the information and encourage people to come out of their house. And it is a process. It's because for us to get a room full of 90 people, that is down to hard work, learning, going out, talking to people, giving leaflets, speaking to people, telling people about what we do. Because people, when they see Black History Studies, they think, oh, we're going to talk about slavery. No, we're not just going to focus on slavery. We talk about everything. And then people come, we may talk about domestic violence, we may talk about safeguarding the community, maybe talking about Black history in general. So we try and make it varied. And people will come out and support the work that you do. And we don't make huge amounts of money, but people come out, and we have seen independent films in this country that nobody's ever heard of. And we had, like, for example, we premiered 7 AM in January. We had about 300 people coming to a school venue. Black History Studies introduced Hidden Colours, the Hidden Colours trilogy in this country. We had huge numbers of people coming out, and those are independent films that are not going to even get into the cinemas. And that's why we have to support people that are putting out films in the cinemas, because that is all the numbers game as well. If they don't see the people coming and buying the tickets, it makes it even harder for independent Black filmmakers to get their films in the cinema. So we have to support, and that's why I have to give thanks to people for coming out today and supporting this event, because it is hard work. Actually, when I applied for the funding, I think it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, I stayed up to apply for this one. I wasn't even going to go for it. I thought, you know, let me just go for it. And I did, and we got it, and this is the product of hard work, being pregnant, having baby 4 months ago, and all kind of stuff, and I'm still here doing this film festival, and it's been beautiful. So before I start crying, I'm going to stop, because I know me. I will stop. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming as well. Okay, so Paulette, please tell us about yourself.
Oh my gosh. Good afternoon, ladies and gents. It's an absolute pleasure and an honour to be here amongst my sisters. I am Paulette Harris-German, aka Lady Paulette, because I wear a number of hats. But today I'm here in a film capacity. Well, been in and around the arts and performance and film industry for about 100 years. And yes, my current works, A Story of Lovers Rock, directed by Many Lectures Baz. I'm the associate producer on that, one of the associate producers. His current film, which is in the cinemas at the moment, so please do try and get to see it. It's called Looking for Love. It's another documentary. I'm associate producer on that. Associate producer and actor in Lawrence Coke's Melvin Chronicles of a Player, first AD on Julius Amadune's second unit for A Goat's Tale. I've worked for the BFM Film Festival, wrote for the magazine, and I also work with the Pan-African Film Festival in Los Angeles, still performing, hosting, and just doing anything around the arts and supporting. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Samantha Esamadu. I'm a filmmaker. I run an organisation also called Media Diversified, known as Writers of Colour on Twitter. We're quite noisy. You might have seen us if you're on Twitter. I'm very thankful for being invited by me to be here. It's a pleasure to be amongst black women directors and black women who watch black women directors films. Number one, it's not always the case. So I did my first film for Al Jazeera English in 2009. At the time I was living in Uganda. I'd gone there after, I'd had a job here working for Sky, making short celebrity interviews for one of their websites, and sort of the contract ended. And I thought, what am I going to do now? And so my partner at the time was going out to East Africa to work as a journalist, and I thought, why not? I set up a job beforehand. There's a brilliant woman director who runs a company out in Uganda where she makes films for TV and so on. And so I went out there and sort of became a script writer and production manager, and sort of, it was the best entry I could have into moving to that country, because there was a show we worked on called Jazz My Life, which was the first in Uganda. It was a sort of cross between Pimp My Ride and Changing Rooms. And what we used to do, we go to all these different universities in Uganda. We set up this. It was sponsored by a mobile phone company, and we set up these auditions where students would come in to audition in front of this panel, saying that they want their live jazz, which came up to, they got their room, their dorm room sort of overdone, and they had clothes given to them and all sorts of stuff, and for that, for me, having just moved to Uganda, going to Gulu, I don't know if you know where the sort of civil war was there for a while. The LRA went to that university, different universities around, and from there I met the crew that I used in the future, black men and black women. So when I went on to then work for AFP and CNN and so on, I could take those people with me, and and I think that is one important thing, that you always, whatever opportunities you get, you pass along and make sure that the other people that have supported or you supported them, that they get a chance.
My name is Satoshi Hilton, and I started as an actress. I went to drama school, went to drama school in New York, came back to London, and was doing what most actors do, applying to be in short films, doing a lot of theatre. And then one day my sister said to me, you boys love writing, why don't you try writing a script? So I was like, I don't think that's for me, that's for directors, it's really not my field, I just want to stick to acting. But I was writing a lot, and one of the stories that I wrote, I thought, well, let me try and make that into a script format. So that was the first step I took in writing a script. And it wasn't made into a film. It was way too long, but it encouraged me to write Aki and Saltfish, which was my first film that I made. And then from there that led to Small World, and from there to Leah. And I've made music videos as well, and another short film recently. But yeah, I can now say I'm an actress, writer and director, because I'm kind of doing all three, and aiming for my first feature in 2 years. So that's really my story.
Hello everyone, my name's Yvonne McConaughey and I'm a film practitioner really. I've never really called myself a filmmaker because I was always doing one thing and then ending up doing something completely different. So I first started wanting to make film. I started a long time ago in the 80s, and at that time people shot things on Super 8. So you had like this little camera that you could just buy some 8mm film in Boots, and you put it into this little camera and you could go off and shoot around town with it, and then take the film back to Boots, and then they would they process it for you just the same way as they process your still film, and you could then show it on a reel-to-reel. And we used to do that in clubs a long time ago. Such a long time that I actually almost forgot that that's how I started making film. And at the time I'd just come to London, I didn't know anything about very much, and I was just happened to be hanging around with people that were just graduating from film school, so for them that was their way of making films, and that's how I kind of started doing it. But by the time I went to university, I also had a kid, and it was hard then to make a film and have a child and do everything else. So I met Menelik Shabazz. In fact, somebody said to me, go and work for Black Filmmaker magazine, because you know they'll have any graduates at the time. Do you know what I mean? They'll have you. Go on. So I went up there, and Menelik said, why don't you just do a film festival in Wales? Yeah. So I said, okay then, thinking it was that easy. Of course it was not. But I did that then periodically over 8 years, and that was the best training I had, because you really get beaten up a lot when you run a film festival, and you have to learn by doing, and it just, now when I look back, it just feels like abuse. But it was a very, very good experience, and I met people like Paulette and so many other amazing filmmakers.
So you mentioned some of my first question. I was going to ask if anybody's been film school, because that's always people think, oh, that's the way you go to make a film. Go to film school, you learn the skill, and then make a film. I know. Did anybody go to film school?
No, I applied.
Oh, you applied?
There's the National Film and Television School, and I applied like years ago. You have to pay £25, whatever, to do to apply. I didn't get it, and I thought, oh God, this is all. I'll never be a filmmaker. And then I just, started making my own stuff and doing it. And one of the things I advise lots of people to is, if you have got an idea, do some sort of trailer. So often when people are commissioning stuff, they want to know you've got access, basically, and you want to know whoever you're filming. I talk from a documentary perspective rather than feature films, but yeah, you want to know who these people are that you're going to delve into their lives and so on, and the commissioners want to know that. But I don't know. I wouldn't say. I think people should go to film school if they've got the opportunity. It reminds me sort of kind of the art world, where you get people doing this, in my opinion, sometimes really strange art, and they get a big name for themselves. And I think, well, I don't know, my nephew could do it. But the point is, like they've got that sort of what they've had is that training and that confidence that comes from having that training, that they can say, and they can back it up and so on. So I would, if you've got the opportunity and the funding to go to film school, I said definitely. But then, if you've got a bit of gumption yourself, you can still you can do it yourself.
When there's a space, we have to use these things and think outside of the box. We're African people, we don't need a box. We got the world. No, we just have to think creatively. And we are creative people, but we can do this. And let's just have that confidence to do it. So yes, we can. Yeah?
I just want to pick up on what you said about your daughter, and I'm sure Yvonne will have done the same. I don't know, you ladies, do you have children this year? Keep it down. But they do have their uses. Because when I ran a film screening night called Film and Cabaret on the Broadway, and it was precisely that, because I've been around the film industry for so many years, so many amazing films get made and they never get seen. And so I decided to provide, myself and Lawrence, to provide a platform where filmmakers can get their film in front of an audience, but also an audience can get to films that they would never ever see. And so I did that. It's in 2010, and that ran for 2.5 years. And it's an amazing, you get the filmmakers, they're glad to come out and share that information. But to raise the point about the children, my son did the lights, one did the box office, my nephew put out the chairs, you know, my other girlfriend, she did box stuff, and you just bring it in the community. But the most important thing about that is that you're teaching them skills that they can then put on their CVs. Because my youngest has only ever worked for me and his dad. It's only last year, he's 23 now. It's only last year that he's actually got a job outside of the family. It's like, you don't need to go out there and take some knocks because they become cosseted, but you can actually give them that first work experience, cash handling, and it's all that transferable skills that ordinarily that if they try to get to Tesco's or something, they'll be looking down on your child. You can do that yourself. So well done.
Okay, one of the things that Directed UK, they've been studying all the, you know, BBC, all the channels to see how many are directed by by not white people, and it's minimal. They brought out this big pie chart, and then they had this little snippet there, and I was like, what? And believe it, I said, but I thought, you know, I suggested in that room, so why don't we, you know, set up our own channel or something? And suddenly it was like, well, I don't know about that and whatever. And I was thinking, I want to be in spaces where it's radical enough where you can say that, and people like look at you and think, you know, well, that would be interesting. I mean, I know we don't. We're still going to get onto the money and stuff, but I think it's important that happens.
We can do all of that. We can do that. There's nothing stopping us from doing it. If we can do it in the 80s when it's more difficult, there's nothing stopping us from doing it now. There's nothing stopping. It's just that we need to just, even if it's just one or two people coming together and say, this is our over peppermint tea, we say, yeah, we're going to sit down and we're going to plan this. We're going to plan world domination, and then we're going to get other people that wants to get involved, and then it slowly grows.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do.
I think, so just picking up on that, so back in a minute, in the 80s, there was so much more, like people were coming together. Like now, everyone's doing it on their own. It's like, well, you know, I'm just about being able to do it myself. So, and I find sometimes, because I go to a lot of film events, I was at the Sundance UK Film Festival last year, and it was mostly white filmmakers, but there was a couple of black ones as well. I didn't see any of you guys though. It was free. But yeah, I just found that when I did approach these filmmakers, they don't want to know. It's kind of like, okay, well, I'm doing my thing and you do yours, and that's what the problem is, because in America there's so much more collaboration, and in the 80s that was going on like hugely, and that's why there was so much success. But I think now, unfortunately, it's all dispersed.
How have you funded films before? Did you get any grants? Did you get any support? Did you have to go and speak to grandma? Give me some equity from her house? How did you fund your films?
My first 2 films I funded myself, but you know, kept the costs really, really low. Just like beg, steal and borrow, that type of thing. And it was only like with Leah, which is my last movie, that I had like 2 independent funders that had been following like my journey through film, and we had to kickstart a campaign, and we weren't successful with that, but you know, they were following us, and then they were like, look, we still want to give you some money for the film. But it's always been like, let's make this for as little as possible, you know, and yeah.
If a story is believable, though, it's worth making. I think if you believe it, if you watch it and you actually engage with the film, then that's a good film, because the production values you can always take care of with money. But if a film, if it doesn't work, then you know, that's where the problem lies, I think. So it's like, it seems to me as well with funding, there always seems to be a wave of funding, and as soon as that wave has come, if you catch that wave, in fact that wave's actually looking to catch you at that point, and if you are riding that wave, then you will get something made at that point, and it may be a while before that wave comes back again, but it will come back at some point. The only problem is that they're always looking for the new wave, so the wave that happened before never gets nurtured, and this is, I think, the problem why we have such a lot of great films made in the 80s, a couple in the 90s, you might get some in the noughties, because there's never any continuity, and the reality is that people like Menelik Shabazz should not be struggling to make films, and he will continue to struggle to make it, and filmmakers, even the best, often, you know, struggle to make films. And I know that when Osman Sembène, just before he died, he was, you know, making a slate of films, he was just starting to get in his stride, but of course, you know, he was on his way out, which is a tragedy. And I think that is the problem with filmmakers, is that when they get to a place where you start to really feel that this is somebody who's going to make a mark and make a slate of films, so that people who are film writers and that have a history to look at, it doesn't happen. And I think that's something that we need to do. We need to make sure that when you make your feature, you don't make one feature, you make 5, so we can look at your work and we can see how well you've done, you know. And I think that is when we're going to start to see, generations of films and how they move and how they're shaped and how they're able to define us in this century, so that the next century we can start to look back. And also we do need to remember that film is still very young. It's probably the youngest medium of them all, you know, the youngest art. So we're still, you know, we're still in early days.
I'm Paulette Coletti, and this event was just so informative, and it was a chance to network and meet other filmmakers. I was just so impressed with the film we watched, Sisters in Cinema, to learn so much more about what other women filmmakers are out there.
I agree. My name is Cora Burke, and yeah, my experience today was very eye-opening to know that there are actually a lot of films out there that tell our story as black women. I was kind of disillusioned thinking that, you know, the only things to see out there are the typical, stereotypical movies, but it was just so nice to see that there are movies being made about our story, and meeting people that are actually doing these things present day is just phenomenal. So it was a fabulous experience. Learned a lot, felt the vibe, felt a lot of a sense of community. So it was brilliant. Very, very good.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. I mean, the people that are here and the experiences that they have, and also what knowledge they have to pass on, I think is something that needs to be told in more areas and more venues, in a wider space to a bigger audience. I think it's an amazing thing.
Hi, my name is Clarissa. I found it a great day, really educational, learned a lot about filmmaking that I didn't know. I'm personally not a filmmaker, but I actually got some great connections, places that I want to go and check out. I've got a whole list of sites now that I'm going to bombard people with, and apps. And I think it's really important for young people just to explore and learn from the elders about the filmmaking that we obviously need to carry on and support.
Hi, my name is Jenna Kiru. I'm a director, and I'm at the Mayor Angelou Film Festival today in London. It's been an amazing day of workshops and film screenings for artists and filmmakers that are not normally seen in the mainstream. So events like this are super important because they're the only opportunity to see filmmakers and artists from the community and from filmmaking. So I'll encourage more people to support activities and events like this.